सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। Om, may Brahman protect us, may he guide us, may he give us strength and right understanding, may love and harmony be with us all. Om, peace, peace, peace. The subject of my today's talk is Shankaracharya, the epoch maker. We have a statue of Shankaracharya in our garden of saints, and we pay respect to Shankaracharya on the Guru Purnima day, which is coming in July. In the mid-July, usually it comes. The reason is this, that Shankaracharya is our Adi Guru. Adi Guru means the Guru who started the lineage, if we call it. But Shankaracharya himself had some lineage, but from the monastic point of view, we belong to his one of the 10 orders. So in that way, we are related to him. So it is good to know about him time to time. Shankaracharya was born in the year 1788. Of course, you know that this is many years back, so there are some disputes about the birth date and also the year. But generally nowadays, that means continuously deliberations are going on, but most of the reputed scholars accept, especially Max Muller, Dr. Radhakrishnan, and they are very well known personality in our philosophies and scriptures. So they have accepted his birth year as 788 AD, that means after Jesus Christ. And he was born in a state called Kerala. Kerala is the southernmost state of India, and is a very beautiful state and very picturesque, full of rivers and trees, coconut trees, and he was born there. And Kerala, even now, though it is a very people of that place are very well educated. I think they have the highest percentage of educated people in whole of India. That means in general education level is very high, even now. Even now means at present, previously in the past also it was like that. And it has produced many learned persons in scriptures and science and in educational field. In many fields actually we have many educated persons coming from Kerala. And the mother tongue of that state, or the state tongue if we call it, is Malayalam. It is very much Sanskritized. So Shankaracharya was born in the year 788, and he was born in a family of Brahmins, very well-known Brahmin lineage, which are known as Nambudris. Even now Nambudris are there. They are very scriptural oriented. Of course they are in other fields also, but definitely they have a tradition of maintaining the scriptures, study of scriptures, that is quite well known. So his father's name was Shivaguru and mother's name was Aryamba. And there are stories about his birth also. You know, all the great people have some stories behind their birth and other things associated. Slowly they come around when they become very well known. The story is like this, that his mother had a dream. In that dream he said that, well, would you like to have several children who will be of average intelligence, or you would like to have one son who will be prodigious? So it is said that Shankaracharya's mother chose one son who will be prodigious. So in that way he was born, and he was prodigious from the definitely that from the as his biographies have come out, we see that at a very young age, he mastered the scriptures. It is said that at the age of 1, he started prattling in Sanskrit. So without learning anything, that young means just a baby. At that time, actually, they do not make any sensible sound, but he started prattling in Sanskrit. And his mother tongue was Malayalam, so he started speaking in Malayalam at the age of 2. Then as the age advanced, it is said that within the age of 7, he had learned all the scriptures that were available. That he was in the scholarly family, so by listening and other things, actually he learned that. But unfortunately, at the age of 7, his father died. And in Brahmin family, those who are familiar with the customs and conventions of the Brahmins, you know that they have to have some Upanayana ceremony. Upanayana means sacred thread ceremony. It is a Hindu ceremony which is investiture of sacred thread. It is the beginning of the study of scriptures. In ancient times, young students used to go to the Gurukula. Gurukula means the house of the teacher, Sanskrit teacher or any art and science teacher. They used to live there. And the teacher used to teach them, a group of students, and the teacher's wife actually used to take care of them. In that way, Gurukula system ran. So, and for that, to go there, actually this investiture ceremony used to be held. So, his father died before his investiture ceremony. So, mother, a competent lady, and knew the conventions and customs of the tradition. So, in that way, she invested into Upanayana ceremony. That means that sacred thread ceremony. And it so happened that after studying the scriptures, Shankaracharya at a very young age had the notion that it is not possible to realize God without taking monastic vows. And that impressed in his mind. He knew from the scriptures. And he started, of course, by that time there are several incidents that when he started teaching also, and also by knowing his, what is called, this prodigious caliber, the king, the then king actually wanted him to come to his court, and all those incidents are there. But he refused those things and remained in his place and started his own school and started teaching also. But he told his mother, when in those days marriage used to be held in a young age, so mother started that, you see, I am alone, and you have studied all those things, you have become very eligible, and also you have school and all those things. Now it is time for you to get married. But Shankaracharya told that I cannot marry, I want to become a monk. But mother said that, well, you are only son, I do not have any other relative who will look after me, and if you go away, how shall I live? I shall die. So in that way, she was actually deferring. Deferring in a sense that means she did not give permission. But Shankaracharya continued that. That means he was very much into monastic vows. He wanted to be a monk. So it so happened, the village where he was born is on the bank of the river called Purna. And the name of the village is Kaladi. It is still there, and there is an institution, or the place where Shankaracharya was born. It is well kept. And they used to go to take bath in the river Purna. And one day, Shankaracharya and his mother went to take a bath. But unfortunately, it so happened that a crocodile caught hold of Shankaracharya's one foot and started dragging into the in the middle of the river. And Shankaracharya started shouting to his mother, said that, Mother, this crocodile has caught hold of me, now I shall die. But before my death, if I have the satisfaction of having taken monastic vows, then I shall die satisfied. And so please give me permission to die with to become a monk. So mother was in a fix. That means that she could not do anything. She could not save the child, At the same time, the child is, the last desire of the child is to become a monk. So she shouted that, yes, yes, I give you permission to become a monk. So at that time it is said that the crocodile actually left him, and Shankaracharya swam into the bank and told his mother that, Mother, now you have given me permission, so I cannot really go back to home. So what he did, he had heard that there is a great teacher in the bank, on the bank of the Narmada. He was in the southern part of India and Narmada in the middle part of India. Narmada is considered to be the second holiest river in India. Ganga, as you know, is universally known that it is the most sacred river of the Hindus or in India. But Narmada is second sacred, most sacred. But incidentally, Narmada is older than Ganga. That means Ganga is a very recent river, geologically. Narmada actually existed before Ganga was born. But still, Ganga is considered, because the legends and all those things are associated, how Ganga came on earth and all those things, it is considered to be the supreme sacred river. So whatever it may be, on the bank of the Narmada, just like in Himalayas, there are many sages and saints and rishis. They do ascetics, they do spiritual practices in caves and other forests and other places. On the bank of the Narmada also, in that way, there are many retreats and sages and monks and ascetics. They do spiritual practices. So he came to know that there is a place called Omkareshwar. And there one sage was there. His name was Govindapada. He was a disciple of Gaurapada. And he heard his name and he came to know that he is a realized person. And he knew all the Vedantic literature, that means ancient literature of the Hindus. And he decided that he will go to him and take monastic vows from him. And you can imagine a boy of 7 and 8 years old. So he had a companion, his name was Vishnu Sharma, and they started walking. After taking permission from his mother, mother could not do anything because she has given words. But Shankaracharya was very gracious in a sense, very kind. He said that, well, I am leaving you and I shall take monastic vows, just I want to realize God. But I assure you that before you die, that means at least at the time of death, I shall come back and see you. That means last visit I shall do. That means he promised that. So in that way, after assuring mother, he started walking towards north, and ultimately came on the bank of the river Narmada and found out his guru. That means inside that mountainous, it is Narmada actually comes from Vindhya range, and it flows so that in a cave or in a retreat, he found the great sage Govindapada. And Govindapada was there, and he fell at his feet and rattled something in Sanskrit, saying that I have come in search of you, and I surrender to you, and please accept me and give me the investiture in monastic vows. Then the guru actually asked, who are you? So then Shankaracharya actually composed then and there one beautiful verse that I want to read towards the end, and he recited that, and then Guru was very much satisfied. He knew that this is a very competent student, and he accepted him and gave him monastic vows and taught him the scriptures. Scriptures means this Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita, of course, at that time was part of Mahabharata, but Upanishads and Brahma Sutra, all those books of Vedanta, Advaitic Vedanta actually, he taught him. And Shankaracharya, being a very competent student, very quickly learned those things and became very proficient. And by seeing this, or by finding this competent student, Govindapada told that, you see, the condition of Hinduism very bad now because of the influence of Buddhism. Buddhism is a simple religion. Buddha preached that, and it was there since Buddha's death, and people accepted. or started accepting because it is a missionary religion. That means there are the preachers and they used to call people, used to convert. So in that way it was in many people left Hinduism and became Buddhist. And not only that, by the time when Shankaracharya was born, at that time Buddhism was in decadence. Decadence in a sense that in the name of a religion, different vices even actually used to be practiced. So Govindavada told that it is time that you have to what is called regain the the glory of Hinduism. And you are very competent. That means you are young, not only young, you are versed in scriptures. And of course, from the point of a realization, it was like this. It is said that when he was invested into this monastic vows, within 3 days actually he had the highest realization. Highest realization means, that means according to Vedanta, that I am Brahmana Tattvamasi, this type of scriptural scriptural mantras they repeat, and ultimately they realize it. It is not the repetition of understanding of what is called the meaning, but realization. That means in meditation they realize that yes, my Atman is one with the ultimate reality Brahman. That realization comes. So he is so competent, so pure, and so full of knowledge. So he did not take much time. Within 3 days actually he had the highest realization. That is why Gaudapada was very much eager that Shankaracharya take that mission. Gaudapada by that time was very old actually, so if he did not have that capacity, or he knew that he is not the person to reform Hinduism or revive Hinduism, so he asked, or rather ordered Shankaracharya, his disciple, to take that task. And Shankaracharya did his Guru's order, so naturally a sincere student always follows his Guru's words, so in that way he started preaching. Preaching in a sense, that means he went to Benares. At that time Benares, or Kashi as it is called, was the seat of learning. It is still a very well-known place for science, scriptural studies. Of course there is a very well-known university now which has got many branches of modern studies, but still it is considered to be a great seat of scriptural learnings and all what to say about the holiness of the city of Benares. Nobody knows how actually the city was started. It is said that from the very beginning of the civilization, the Benares was established, and it is considered to be the seat of Lord Shiva himself, as if Lord Shiva has what is called established that city. That reputation is there. So that was the great place to meet scholars and also start preaching. As you know, Buddha also did that. Buddha had his realization or nirvana, that means experience of the highest, on the bank of the river Phalgu, which is on the eastern part of India, and on the bank of the river, a place called Goya. That means that is also a sacred place, and by the side of that city there is another place which is now as Bodh Gaya. That means the outskirts of the city, we call it. So there he sat and had the highest realization. But his preaching he started coming to Varanasi, that means Benares. And he did not, of course, enter into the city. Outside he made a camp, and there people used to come, Sarnath as it is called. There he started preaching. So that was tradition that those who wanted to preach something, there is a ready seat, if you call it, that the people who are there to learn, those who are eager to learn, they used to come there. So in that way, that was a great place for exchange of knowledge. So he lived there, that started living there, and there are many incidents that happened and that changed that taught Shankaracharya also something which actually he did not learn or did not really care to learn. That is the point. As you know, we study Vedanta. Vedanta ultimate reality is Brahman. So Brahman is everything. But Brahman actually cannot function according to theory by himself or by itself. Brahman does not have any what is called gender, so it is called it. In that way it is signified. But Brahma cannot do things without any power. To create anything or to do something you need power. So Shankaracharya found that there is nothing like power. That means Brahma itself can do everything. And that actually that was in his mind, and he did not accept that, or he did not pay attention to that, and he learned that by by some incident. The story is like this, that Shankaracharya, being in Benares, being a devout person, being a monk, so naturally every morning he has a routine. So every early morning he used to go to the river Ganges and used to take a bath, then used to come to the temple, they did worship, then probably he taught in his house or in his school, and that was his routine. So one day he was going to to take a bath. But in Benares, if you have gone there, the streets are very, very narrow. That means narrow means very narrow. That means if only two people probably can pass at a time. That means they know what to say about the vehicles. Vehicles cannot enter there inside the city. Of course, there are roads, big roads, but if you want to go to the Ganges or temple, you have to pass through those very narrow lanes. So when he was going to the river Ganga, and that day, in that lane, one dead body was lying, and one woman was a dead body, old man died, and one old lady was crying, saying that I have nobody to take this my dead husband to the cremation ground. So what shall I do? In that way, she was crying and expecting that somebody will help her to take the dead body into the cremation ground. So then Shankaracharya saw that the lane is almost barricaded. That means that he could not really pass. So he requested that lady that, well, please just drag a little bit so that just get little passage so that I can pass this dead body. And as you know, dead body in scriptures is untouchable. That means it is very, what is called, it is if somebody touches a dead body, naturally he will have to purify. Impure, it is a very impure thing, so he did not want to, Shankaracharya did not want to touch it. Then actually that lady said that, well, you are Shankara and you say Brahman, so you have, Brahman is everything. So you have known those things, so why don't you, with your own power actually, power means that means you are spiritual, or if Brahman can do everything, so let Brahman move this dead body for you. So why don't you do that? Then actually he understood that Brahma actually really niskriya, that means it cannot do anything. So he had to accept. He learned that is a lesson for me, that Brahma cannot do anything without the power, that means Shakti. So that actually, it is said that by God's grace or whatever it may be, this incident taught him that Brahma cannot do anything without the Shakti, and he accepted Shakti. That means the existence of Shakti, through which actually creation and all those things have come into existence. And later on we see that Shankaracharya wrote very beautiful poems on the Divine Mother, that means embodiment of divinity in feminine form. So that was one lesson, the story, as the story goes, that we come across. Then there was another story about the what is called Chandala. Chandala means the Benares is very well known for cremation grounds. You know, there are many on the bank of the Ganges. Several cremation ground is there. In those days, they used to have funeral pyres. That means it used to be, there are always non-stop burning of dead bodies. The reason is that many people went to Benares with the hope that, according to legend, if somebody leaves the body in Benares, automatically, that means if whatever you have done in your life, that will not be taken into consideration. Lord Shiva is very generous there, and he will give liberation of the soul. So even now also, even monks also, that means monastics who had done a lot of spiritual practices, they also stay there with that hope or expectation, or with that what is called great atmosphere where liberation is so cheap. That means you die and you get liberation, that is there. So many old persons, so naturally old persons die, so there will be many necessity of cremation, so many cremation grounds are there. So there are persons who are the in charge, if you call it, or help people in the cremation, because cremation doesn't happen in the life of everybody every day. So they specialized job, if you call it. So there are chandalas. Chandalas means those who are keepers of the cremation grounds. So what they do, that means they keep wood stock of wood. That means there are godowns where you'll find dry wood, because in rainy season it is difficult to get those things. So they stock them. Not only that, and they prepare the funeral pyre, and then the bodies are kept, and then the fire is lit. Then time to time it has to be stoked also, so that the body burns very nicely. So that type of person are there, chandalas. So one day it so happens, and chandalas, because they touch these dead bodies always, handle the dead bodies always, so they are considered to be very impure, and that touch a person who touches them need to take a bath. They themselves also, that means when they go back to their home or whatever, they, after taking a bath, they go in that way, they wash away their what is called impurity. So one day it so happened that Shankaracharya was again passing through the street, going to take bath, but suddenly one chandala means he was carrying a dead body. Sometimes people cannot carry, an old lady could not carry, so the story goes. So such things also happen. Probably somebody died, nobody was there, so the dead body had to be taken to the cremation ground. So one chandala, that means those persons who take care of the dead body, was carrying a dead body on his shoulder or whatever it may be. And as you know, the streets are so narrow, so Shankaracharya was passing, and suddenly he touched him. And Shankaracharya was very much upset in a sense, that means he was enraged. He said, why you touched me? So who are you? Then actually that chandala started rattling something which the bottom line of which is that I am Atman, I am not the body. So by touching me actually, it cannot become impure. So in that spirit actually, he taught Shankaracharya. That means though he was a realized person, he had that type of sanskaras. That means by touching what is called a body and all those things, one can become impure. Though you say that you are the purest of the pure, ultimate reality, which he used to teach. So these are the stories that go, that we find in the life of Shankaracharya. So Shankaracharya, we see that his teacher told him to preach, and so he started writing commentaries according to the Advaita philosophy. That means it was already there, and it was established by Vedavyasa himself. He wrote Brahma Sutra. That means he was an editor, as you know. He compiled all the Vedas and divided them, so organized them. And so naturally he knew the philosophies, and taking the sum and substance of those Upanishads, actually he deliberated in this, what is called, expounded his theory of what is called non-dualism, which is the basic teaching of the Upanishad, and wrote that, what is called, Vyasa Sutra. That means Brahma Sutra as it is called. So it has become so difficult to understand those sutras that somebody needed to teach them. So Shankaracharya actually took that task. He started expounding them. He had his students and all those things. He used to expound them, and they are taken down, and in that way he wrote the commentary. And in that way he re-established the Brahma Sutra, the supreme philosophy of what is called Hindu thoughts, if you call it, Hindu scriptures. So later on we see that he found out that some of the philosophies that are necessary for the keeping of this Hindu scriptures alive, and interpret them in the Advaitic way. So he wrote commentary of Bhagavad Gita also. Bhagavad Gita till Shankaracharya's time was a part of Mahabharata. As you know, it is a part of Mahabharata, that Kuru Pandava war and all those things. So it is a part of the Mahabharata, but Mahabharata is a huge book. That means 100,000 verses and all those things are there. So it was not used, it was as a story or as a cultural thing or as a what is called history, book of history, it was important. But from the point of view of philosophy, Bhagavad Gita has its own merit. So Shankaracharya understood that. Not only understood that, he took out that portion, the dialogue of Lord Krishna with Arjuna on the occasion of the Kurukshetra war. That is he took out and put it into a book. That is, made a book, and then he commented upon that from the point of philosophy, and in that way he wrote the commentary on Bhagavad Gita. Of course, it is said that there used to be one commentary on Bhagavad Gita, that portion of the Mahabharata, but that was never found. So it is said that never found in a sense that how actually we know then. Know then means some of the commentator or some of the teachers actually has referred that such and such person has said such and such thing on this line of the what is called Bhagavad Gita or Krishna's saying. So in that way, some references of some persons are there. So in that way it is surmised that there must have been some teacher who had commented upon that earlier. But what is called the tradition was lost. That means nobody knew. But, in those days it was difficult to keep those things in the book form. So there it has not been found. But since Shankaracharya, this book has been commented by many other teachers. Many other teachers, maybe 20, 25, maybe nowadays many more. So even today you will find that Bhagavad Gita is studied. And studied means that it is simple book, simple in a sense that compared to the other scriptures, Bhagavad Gita is easy to understand. Those who know a little bit of Sanskrit, they can themselves make out the meaning. But to understand a deeper philosophy, it is necessary to take the help of the what is called commentaries. And those who are a little learned, so they find new meanings, or according to their own idea and concepts or cultural tradition, they also can find out different meanings of the sayings of Lord Krishna. So in that way, they also have made their own commentaries, and in that way, many commentaries have come out. Even a person like Mahatma Gandhi, he also wrote one commentary on Bhagavad Gita. You can imagine a political person and what is called, he was busy always for this independence of nation, but still he had the time. When he used to be jailed, it is said that he used to study scriptures, and at that time, because in jail there is no activity, and political prisoners, you know, they don't have to do other what is called the punishments, if you call it, that usually the other prisoners do. So he used to study Bhagavad Gita and scriptures, and in that way he wrote a commentary on Bhagavad Gita according to his own thoughts. So the point is this, Shankaracharya's commentary on Bhagavad Gita, then these Upanishads also, they are the cream of the Indian scriptures. So he wrote, there are many Upanishads, that means these Vedas are there. From Vedas, the educational portion or philosophical portion or practical portion which needs to be practiced and for the realization of the ultimate reality, they are called Upanishads. So there are many Upanishads, 108 or something like that. So Shankaracharya found that 10 or 12 Upanishads are really very useful. And if somebody studies them, and that will give the idea of the what is meant or what needs to be done for the realization of the ultimate reality. In that way, he commented upon them. So these two he did, these three, that means commentaries on Upanishads, commentary on the Bhagavad Gita, and commentary on the what is called Vyasa Sutra. That means Brahma Sutra, as it is also called Brahma Sutra. That actually established this Advaita philosophy in a strong, what is called, strong foundation. It is not this that Shankaracharya, what is called, propounded that. He really discovered that or just made out of his own realization. It is not like this. It was there, but it was lost. That means importance of that of those teachings were lost. So people, there is nobody to explain them properly. So there is nobody, there are not persons who practice them. So in that way, it was in oblivion. So he actually recovered them. Vyasa himself actually recovered in ancient times, maybe about 3,000 years before Shankaracharya. But as time passes, you know that things come and they get lost. So in that way, Shankaracharya actually revived them. And I shall read one commentary by Sister Nivedita that will show the importance of Shankaracharya's, what is called, Shankaracharya's this effort. Let me see. Yes. Summing up the great words of the greatest saint of India, Sister Nivedita wrote, quote, in the course of a few years, we shall see that also is a story. Let me tell that a little bit. That Shankaracharya, when he left his house, his mother actually was eager to know how long actually my son will live. It is a desire for every parent to know what is called longevity of that child. So a horoscope was made. And in the horoscope, it was written that he will die at the age of 8. So it was a very dangerous thing. Such a, what is called prodigious son was born, but he will die. And in fact, that dream was like this, that in the dream, a mother had also seen that he will be prodigious, but he will not live long. But if, other sons will not be prodigious, but they will live longer time. But his mother actually chose a son who will not live long, but he should be prodigious. So she did not presume that short life means it's 8 years only. That is the point. So, but it was in the horoscope it was found that if he takes to monastic vows, actually he'll live for another 8 years. So in that way his life was extended by 8 years by taking the vow of monasticism. And then again it so happened that when he wrote means it is said that when Shankaracharya was writing these commentaries and took the his reputation actually was spread. So one Brahmin came and said that if you write a commentary on this Brahma Sutra, then your life will be extended to another 16 years. That means in that way he got the extension up to 32 years. So he wrote that, and naturally he lived up to 32 years. So it was a very, very short life compared to that. By the age of 32, hardly one person becomes mature enough to understand scriptures. But he actually had that limit of age to up to 32. So that is why Sister Nivedita is saying, in the course of a few years, to have nominated the founders of no less than 10 religious orders, of which 4 fully retain their prestige to the present day. I shall talk about that. And then he's saying, to have acquired to create a distinct philosophy and impress himself on the scholarly imagination of India, which is a preeminence that 1200 years have not sufficed to shake. That means he's put his philosophy in such a stronghold, even after his 1200 years of his death. That means when Sister Nivedita wrote this, till then actually it was so strong that nobody actually could really overcome or negate that. That is the point. In fact, even today, Shankaracharya's philosophy is considered the very strongest philosophy that even science cannot really dispute. That is the point. So even scientists actually study that, and many things that has been propounded, it is from the original scriptures, but the way he has commented, it makes it understandable. And in that way, we find that his thoughts, or the ancient thoughts that was there, is still really valid. In other religion, actually find that mostly they are legends or what is called belief, faith, and all those things. But Shankaracharya's philosophy is strongly based on realization, definitely at the same time on reason. That's the point. This is an age of reason. That means science is based not only on realization. Realization means physically finding something, and at the same time, what is called, it should be universal. Anybody can do that. So in this way, the reasoning part is so strong that even today it stands strong. Let me conclude this paragraph of Sister Nivedita, then I shall come to 2-3 other points that she has mentioned. To have written poems whose grandeur makes him unmistakable even to foreign and unlearned ears. That means he had written so beautiful poems. He was a person of knowledge, that means intellectual person, but in his heart actually he was devotion. So as I told you that after coming to Benares, that means Kashi, when he had this type of experiences, so his devotion actually increased. Increased means it came out. It was there, it came out. So he wrote beautiful poems eulogizing Lord Shiva, then Mother, the Divine Mother, and many, many beautiful poems about his philosophy also. That means in that way he wrote them for the ordinary people. So the point is this, that when these verses are recited, the inner meaning probably will be understood by the person who are knowledgeable of the philosophy. But even those who do not understand the philosophy, they will find it is so beautiful from the point of poetry and composition that it actually attracts them. Then actually he at the same time to have lived with his disciple in all the lived with his disciples in all radiant love and simple pathos of saints. That means he actually had a band of disciples, devoted disciples, who actually continued his task. That is the point. So the point is this, that means Shankaracharya, it is said that when he became learned, one sage came and told him that if you write this, he actually disputed Shankaracharya. First there was a debate. In India in ancient times, not ancient times, during the time of Shankaracharya even, it was like this. That means those who were scholars, they used to engage themselves into arguments from the scholarly point of view. That means he said that this is true, and the opponent will say, no, this is not true, because these are the reasons. In that way, arguments used to go on. People used to enjoy that. Even kings used to organize those things, and it was done in open space. That means those who are interested, they could listen to that. And ultimately, what is called, they used to be, ultimately somebody used to win. That means somebody failed in arguing further. That means in that way, actually, the defeat used to be accepted, and those the person who actually could establish for his philosophy, he used to win. So those who used to lose, their following actually used to become the disciple or the follower of the winner, what is called winner person. In that way, religion or the conversion used to go on, if you call it. So in this way, an old person came and he started arguing with Shankaracharya and what he has written, and started establishing. And ultimately, it so happened there should be some umpire. That means one should say that yes, this person has said, and you cannot really could not dispute what he has said. So naturally, this person has won and you have lost. So some decision has to be given. So there is to be one Pandit who used to listen to that, and ultimately the verdict used to be given. So one of his disciples, who have become by that time very learned, he was made the umpire, and they started really arguing. And ultimately, Shankaracharya, both of them are so what is called proficient, that umpire, that means that disciple who was supposed to give the verdict, he could not really figure out who is actually the winner or who is the loser. So he admitted that. He said that, well, these two persons are arguing, and you are arguing in such a way that I cannot really figure out who is actually the superior. Then actually that old man revealed himself and said that I am Vedavyasa. I have come to you because my Brahma Sutra, that means what I had written, has now gone into oblivion. And you are the right person. That means I wanted to test your knowledge, whether you will be able to, what is called, revive my teachings. So if you do that, I give you another 16 years of life. That was a boon that he gave. So in that way, his life was extended at the age of 16 to 32. So these are the stories. And Shankaracharya, as Sister Nivedita has said, that other than this establishing these scholarly things, he revived Hinduism, and he put the Hinduism in a strong footing. Though he was a learned person and his philosophy was very intellectual, but he, for ordinary persons actually, he put, there are many temples and other places which were really destroyed, and monasteries, Buddhist monasteries was made, or what to say, at that time, of course, Islam did not come to India, but even in Buddhism, we see that conversion was so rampant that many temples were lost, many images were thrown away. In that way, there was a great decadence of Hinduism. So he revived, he re-established many temples, recovered many images, and engaged people to do what is called services in the temple, and in that way he revived Hinduism. For that, ordinary person actually he established what is called worship of 5 godheads, like Ganesha, Surya, then what is called Devi and Narayan. In that way, 5 major godheads. Though he was an what is called Advaitist, but for ordinary person, this dualism actually he revived. That means he said that it's a step toward the highest realization. So you do the worship, and in that way he established. And in fact, even today we follow the tradition of worship of different gods and goddesses in our ritualistic worship. So this is the re-establishment of the Hinduism that he did, philosophically and also practically. Then what he did, he revived the monastic order also. In those days, ancient times, monasticism was just at the end of the life. One used to go to the forest and used to take monastic vows. But from the very beginning, of course, it was there was a little bit monastic vows, but he re-established monasticism and established 4 mottos and 4 parts of India. Motto means they were the supreme monastery who were competent. That means it was given to 4 of the very learned disciples of Shankaracharya, who were given the responsibility of giving monastic vows. At the same time, teach the scriptures to the ordinary people. At the same time, in the monastery itself, there should be. It is like a college, if you call it, and in that way they used to teach them. So he established 4 mottos and 4 parts of India. One in Badrinath, one in Dwarka, another in Puri, another in Sringeri. In that 4 corners, geographically, actually he established so that people do not have the difficulty in accessing the knowledge. So that he did, and as Sister Nivedita said, the tradition is still continuing. And as I told you at the beginning, we are following the tradition. From one of the mottos, we actually draw our lineage from one of the mottos. And it works in this way, just for your, because these are a little bit not very common knowledge. That means it is not really available in every place, but it is important to know how the monastic orders in India, according to Shankaracharya tradition, usually run. After the passing away the disciples whom Shankaracharya gave the responsibility, their disciple became the head, and they are also given the title Shankaracharya. Even today, there are Shankaracharyas in the 4 mottos. They are given title, but they are really competent. That means they are very proficient in scriptures. And of course, they are definitely monastics, but it is not like this that they had taken monastic vows from the young age. Some of them had passed to the householder's life, but later on actually they took the vow of monasticism. In that way also it can happen, and that is also what is called accepted by the scriptures. So in that way, Shankaracharya's tradition is still continuing. So first, the disciple to take charge of the eastern part, that means in Puri, which is known as Govardhan Mad, and his name was Padmapada. And he was given the charge of taking care of the Rig Veda. Study of the Rig Veda is the main in that college. And he was given the responsibility of giving the monastic vows. And they are those who take vows from that motto, their title. We have, you see, Ananda is, of course we do not mention that we have at the end we have another title which is called Puri. That is the title that is given. Sri Ramakrishna has his guru, his name was Tota Puri. Tota is his name, but Puri is the monastic name. That means monastic title after taking the monastic vows. So in that way, these things happen. So every motto was given the responsibility or the what is called the charge of giving, after giving monastic vows, a title, so that people will be able to know that this person had taken monastic vows from this monastery, and his Vedas, study of Vedas is like this. All those things came into. Nowadays, there is what is called, you have these IDs, IDs. Everybody has an ID, social security number. So if government punches that number, everything will come into a picture. That means this person decides that he came here, such as his birth date, in such, all those things. But these titles, name and title, if the title is given, immediately one can find out where actually he belongs. That means what tradition actually he follows. It is that is the purpose. And they were given the worship of such and such deities, and also they are given the what is called Mahabhakkos. Certain Mahabhakkos are really reserved for each of these mottos. In that way, the mottos are established. So first I told Puri, then Sringeri in the southern part of India, and his first disciple Sureshwara. The life story of Sureshwara is also very interesting. That means he was previously a Mimamsaka. That means he was a ritualistic worshipper, and he preached. That means Mimamsakas preached that by performing these different rites which has been prescribed in the Vedas, one can go to heaven or even get liberation, such and such thing. But Shankaracharya actually defeated him in arguments. As I told you, that was the custom, and ultimately he became, which is a large following, became what is called Advaitist. And he was given that name, Sureshwara. So he was given the charge of the southern part, that means Sringeri, and naturally he was he was given the charge of Vedas, Yajurveda, and his responsibility of giving the Mahavakya was Aham Brahmasmi, and we belong to that what is called that order. That means Sringeri order. The reason is that the disciples in that way actually, of course geographically they don't keep themselves limited to southern part or eastern part or northern part. They move around, they can go anywhere, but when the vows and teachings are given, they are responsible for giving what they have got from that tradition. So of course these traditions are from the point of view of realization of God is there is no difference. But to cultivate or maintain, it requires a lot of effort and practice. So they were really divided. That is the point. So that traditions are followed in this way. Then there was Dwaraka in the western part, where Hastamaloga, another direct disciple of Shankaracharya, took charge, and he established that Sharada Math, as it is called. You will see by the side of the Dwaraka temple, if you go visit the temple of Lord Krishna, and you'll find there is a monastery there, and in charge of that monastery is Shankaracharya. His title is Shankaracharya, and there actually these studies and all those things are done, and they are given the responsibility of giving the monastic vows, which ends with Tattvamasi. That means the Mahavakya is Tattvamasi. Then there is Jyotirmath near Himalayas in Badrinath. There the disciple, direct disciple Totakacharya actually is given the responsibility. He was in charge of Atharva Veda, and he was given the tradition of that motto is to give the Mahavakya Ayamatma Brahma. So these are in a nutshell I told you the traditions that he established, and those traditions as Sister Nivedita has since 1200 years actually they are going on. Another interesting thing that needs to be mentioned about him is that you have heard about the Kumbh Mela. You know Kumbh Mela in Prayag, that means now in Allahabad, now it is called Prayagraj, where the confluence of Ganges and Yamuna, they meet. There is a place, that is city is called Allahabad, and the ancient name was Prayag. So on this confluence there is a bathing ceremony or special bathing occasion. That also there are legends associated with that, and that was started by Shankaracharya. That means he just to congregate all the Hindus, if you call it, all the monks, if you call it, from all over India and other places once in 12 years. There are 4 places where actually these are held. So every time they come and congregate, and there they preach. Not only preach, that means those who go to take a vow, there are great teachers who they will teach. Those who want to take monastic vows, they can take monastic vows. In that way, these congregations are living what is called presence of what is called Hinduism, if you call it. So in that way, that also established by him. And as I told you, Shankaracharya's mother, Shankaracharya gave the word to his mother that he will come. So when he was in a sojourn, that means while traveling, the message came that his mother is very ill in deathbed. So Shankaracharya immediately actually went to his mother, and he found that yes, mother is really leaving the body. So at that time, Shankaracharya, learned person, realized person, he gave the knowledge, spiritual knowledge to his mother, and mother died peacefully with full knowledge. That means she also became realized by Shankaracharya's teaching. But it so happened that there is nobody to cremate the body. That because people said that according to tradition, monastic vows, after taking monastic vows, you cannot do any what is called these ceremonies for your mother or brother or whatever it may be, because you have renounced, you have completely dissociated with the family. So there is nobody to take care of the cremation of his mother. So Shankaracharya was very much upset, but ultimately dead body had to be cremated, and ultimately what he did they have a land in the house, so on that land he made a funeral pyre, and then actually he himself, what is called, cremated their body, which is not according to scriptures, but he did not have any other alternative. And it is said that since then, the lineage, his pre-monastic lineage, Nambudris, that means this Brahmin caste, or in the Brahmins, the school of Brahmins, if you call it, Nambudris, they have that tradition that they had to they cremate their bodies of their parents or whatever who dies, and the precincts of their what is called their house. That means they have probably special places they keep reserved for that purpose. So that tradition has come down. So these are the interesting part, and we see that after traveling through the length and breadth of India, ultimately he came to the age of 32, and it is said that he went to the Kedarnath in the Himalayas, and there it is said that in a cave he entered and did spiritual practices, and ultimately his body was not found. That is the interesting part. That means there was no what is called cremation of Shankaracharya because he left his body in such a way that nobody found his body. In that way he died. Of course, there are some sort of it is said in Kashmir also, that means these are very ancient stories. Some say that he went to Kashmir and left his body, and there is stupa-like a thing, that means some sort of monument is there that is said to be he has left his body. But as such, most of the people, that means scholars, believe, those who have studied Shankaracharya's life and those who follow him, they say that he left his body in this way, that in the cave of Kedarnath. So these are the this is the life of Shankaracharya, and I just wanted to, as I told you, I shall recite a few verses. And it happened when the Guru asked him, "Who are you?" As I told you, so Shankaracharya actually rattled in a sense, that means then and there composed this Nirvana Shatakam. That is a very famous composition of Shankaracharya. Probably some of you have written six stanzas of Nirvana. So the Guru asked, "Who are you standing there?" And Shankara replied, I am neither the mind, nor the intellect, nor the ego, nor the mind stuff. I am neither the body, nor the changes of the body. I am neither the senses of hearing, taste, smell, or sight, nor am I the ether, the earth, the fire, the air. I am existence absolute, knowledge absolute, bliss absolute. I am he, Shivoham, Shivoham. So it's a very famous poem you will find in YouTube. It is many what is called eminent singers and Pandits, they have sung this verse. I shall just say a few verses. Then he is saying, I am neither prana, nor the 5 vital airs. I am neither the material of the body, nor the 5 sheaths. Neither am I the organs of action, nor object of the senses. I am existence absolute, knowledge absolute, bliss absolute. I am He, I am He. Shivoham, Shivoham. Then the third verse, I am neither aversion nor attachment, neither greed nor delusion, neither egotism nor envy, neither dharma nor moksha. I am neither desire nor objects of desire. I am existence absolute, knowledge absolute, bliss absolute. I am He, I am He. So in this way the poem goes on, and many other poems and books he has written for this called for the benefit of those who are seekers, especially the Vivek Churamani, then Atmabodha, then Aparakshanabhuti. These are very famous books. He wrote about 151 books other than these, what is called bhasyas, that means commentaries on these 3 scriptures. And also he composed about 50-some poems, beautiful poems, one of these that I recited. So Shankaracharya is a complete person in a sense. That means he was a great philosopher, he was a great devotee, he was a great organizer, and he actually saved Hinduism. We say that God himself comes as an avatar to save religion. So Shankaracharya is considered almost like an avatar, though not exactly avatar, but he is giving that honor of an avatar because he saved Hinduism. He revived the philosophies, basic philosophies of Hinduism at a time when it was really very much in decadence.